Okay, welcome back. I'm Cappadocia. Welcome back to World of Warplanes, Plane Facts, where we have a quick look over the particular aircraft that are flying in the game. And today we're going to be looking at the DH-100, the de Haviland Vampire. Was the second ever British jet fighter, and it was designed by the de Haviland Company to make use of Frank Whittle's jet engine, the gas turbine he developed. Well, he worked on his theories. It was around for quite some considerable time, this plane, actually. It first flew in 43, and it finally retired in 1990. So, 47 years. That wasn't in the UK, that was in the Swiss Air Force, finally retired the last version of it, but still, it did pretty well for it. So to go back to it, basically, the de Haviland Aircraft Company were approached. I believe it was Henry Tizard who approached them to look at the jet propulsion technology and design an aircraft to go along with it. So, yeah, off they went. They designed it along with, like I said, Frank Whittle's engine to go along with it, and they decided a straight-through engine. So, whereas with the Meteor, obviously the engine mounted on the wings, they decided to just build the bloody thing around it. It was very much a typical de Haviland aircraft in that it was mostly wood. They fell back once again on what worked with the Mosquito, what worked with the Hornet, what worked with all the way back to the DH5 and things like that. So, nothing wrong with that. It was very light, slightly unorthodox in its twin boom on the tail, but not really. Things like that had appeared before, so it wasn't really that out there. So yeah, off it went, and there were questions about the twin boom design, but de Haviland stuck by it, and so they started work on it, developed the thing. It was designed to be fast, light, and agile around that jet, with 4 Hispano Suiza cannons built into it. So, not bad at all, really. The idea was it was supposed to be... Originally, it was supposed to just be a stopgap between the retirement of the Mosquito as a night fighter and the knocking over me stuff here, and the Meteor coming on full line. As the night fighter variant, which was the DH-113, I think. Was it the 113? Whatever, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But there were trainer versions, dual seat versions. It was originally also able to carry 6 missiles or 2 bombs, so it could be used. There was a variant of it that was a ground attack, a multi-role as well. So they originally worked on their own engine, which became known as the Goblin. The Haviland Goblin engine, and Rolls-Royce developed a better one. The Goblin was known to be fairly unreliable, which was a problem. But then, to be fair, de Haviland weren't really known for engines. So, it came along. It was a good job. It was the first RAF fighter to break 500 mile an hour or 800 km/h, depending on your variant of things. And Winkle Brown, Eric Winkle Brown, who's, if you don't know Winkle Brown, if you've never heard the name before and you're interested in aircraft history, check him out. Bit of a legend in the British aviation scene. But he was the first to land a jet aircraft to take off and land from an aircraft carrier. The original HMS Ocean. So, in a little de Haviland Vampire. They went all over the place. They were eventually they upgraded to a Ghost engine, and that did again very, very, very good. In '84, they did a group of America's Shooting Stars F-80s were going out there to replace some fighters that were already out there. We were sending some as well, and there was a race between the Vampires and the F-80s. Now, according to the commander of the F-80s, they delayed their, to allow the Vampires to be the first jets across the Atlantic. Personally, the British pilots kind of don't agree with that. I may be slightly biased here again, but I'm going to leave on the fact that, no, they just couldn't keep up. The shooting star was a good plane, but, this thing was just faster, lighter. But yeah, it was a very, very good little aircraft. Especially because, like I said, it was originally just like, they wanted the Gloucester Meteor, which, realistically, I'll come to that eventually, but, there wasn't enough of them, so quickly get this thing cobbled together and off it went. It did a fair amount of little bits and pieces in its day. It was, like I said, first jet to land and take off successfully from an aircraft carrier, first RAF jet to make 500. It went all over the place, Canada, Switzerland obviously, Dominica, Egypt, all sorts of places used it. Even the Irish took it on. It replaced the Spitfire and Seafire as Ireland's main fighter for a while. So yeah, it was a very, very good. There were multiple different versions of it, powered by either goblins, ghosts, or ninnies, depending on which variant. There were night fighters, fighter bombers, trainers. So again, I mean, there was even versions purely for aircraft carriers, the Sea Vampire. So once again, de Haviland had done it again with that way they think of just, simplify, make it traditional British thing, really. Simplify and add lightness. That's all they did. Make it out of wood, a few metal parts for armour, and let it go. There is one that, there's a wreckage of one somewhere up on the hills in Wales still, but it hit the deck, blitzing through the hills up there. But yeah, it went all over the place. I mean, crew of one normally, less than a two-seater trader variant. It was, it started off with the Goblin then, but it had four 20mm Hispano 5s in it. Like I said, it could be armed with 8 3-inch rockets, or with the two 500-pounder bombs, along with 2 drop tanks. So it was a fairly adaptable airframe, which is what de Haviland really made their name doing. Now, unfortunately, it did come in a bit late for it to see action during World War II. Unfortunately, it didn't come into full production and full introduction into the RAF until 46. So by that point, the war's over. I mean, it had flown in 43, didn't come in until 46, and it wouldn't retire fully until 1990. So, while it can't claim to have had many air victories and successes, it hung around for a long time. You don't get that sort of longevity in an aircraft by it being abysmal. People, if you're providing them with a shit aircraft, they will generally get rid of it. Especially if if their enemy is producing better planes, they're going to need better planes to tangle them. This little old fossil is not going to do well. I mean, obviously, someone like Switzerland, who never fights anybody anyway, that doesn't really make a difference. But for other areas, such as Egypt, who were involved in fights at the time, the fact that it still hung around for a good few years is a testament to what this aircraft really could do. It was fast, nimble, agile. The original test pilot for it, I believe, if I'm right, was de Haviland Jr., Jeffrey de Haviland Jr. And it was only 6 months after the Meteor. It had to be delayed because there wasn't, engines for all the rest of it around the place, because things were problematic. We'd had to ship one over to America for the prototype of the XP-80. But there were a few problems with it originally. It tended to snake. So they made alterations to the tail, and that sorted it out. So yeah, it was... it did a very, very good job for what it was designed to do. It was designed as an interceptor, more than anything. So again, small, light, fast, that's what you want. Something small, fast and agile is exactly what you want in that interceptor role. I don't believe it really did much in terms of its actual combat victories, which is a shame. But, you know, it had the capability, and it certainly was good enough to tangle with most things. It did get involved in the scuffle actually between between Egypt and Israel. They were shot down by Israeli meteors. Well, 4 of them crossed the border, 2 of them were shot down. So, but the Vampire at that point was in the process of being replaced by MiG-15s and MiG-17s, which were much more advanced than the Vampire. But obviously the difference between the Gloster Meteor and the Vampire, well, eventually I'll get around to doing the Meteor. The Meteor was much heavier, it was faster, with its 2 engines and more heavily armed. But then this thing wasn't designed to be an air superiority fighter, it's an interceptor with fighter bomber capabilities. So, yeah, that's what it was. So, let's take a look at how well it does in the game. Now, oddly enough for this one, we can't actually say how well it would have done in combat because it never really saw much. And when it came across much more advanced fighters from later on, obviously given that it was developed in the mid-40s, it tended to have trouble. Just because by that point, air design was so much more advanced in the 60s and the 50s than this thing was ever designed to get. I mean, this thing was designed to take on, like, you know, the ME-262 and things like that. It was not designed to take on swept wing airplane with, you know, guided missile systems. That was not what it was designed to engage. It was designed for a time that was pretty much gone. So to engage things like that, it was always going to have trouble and issues. Just purely because of the materials and the way it was designed. So looking at it in the way they've done it in the game, it is fast, it is light, it does have the right equipment on it, but it is very, very weak in this instance. I love the fact that it's fast, I love the fact that it's agile, but I don't like the fact that it is so paper weak. I mean, you know, one little dudunk and suddenly half your health's gone and all your wings are screwed. You know, it's not... The problem is, obviously, most aircraft fire high explosive or fire armor-piercing rounds, and the problem with that is that armor-piercing will literally just go straight through the bloody thing. Explosive will cause it some serious problems. Just because of the manufacturing that it was made of. So, again, I understand and appreciate why it is so weak. I would like to see them toughen it up a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Make it a little bit more survivable. But other than that, it's quick. Not ridiculously quick, which is a minor problem. It doesn't go as fast in game as it should. It racks out with my version. Obviously mine again is set up for agility, but mine caps out at 600 kmh when it should do 800 without a problem. So I would like to see it a little bit faster, but again, that's probably some of the things I've done to it. But its agility is about right, its armament's about right, so all in all, I think they've got it about right, where it is. I think maybe rolling it a little bit back, maybe a level, or, you know, because it was there right at the birth of the jet age. Admittedly, it did survive until the 90s, but it was there right at the birth of the jet age. So putting it in with some of the aircraft it's up against, some of the later aircraft, you know, the ones from, because it's a level... Was it level 7, I believe? So taking on level 8, level 9s, you know, level 8s especially, and level 9s even more so, it has real problems. So I think rolling it back to level 6 would probably have been better, where it's taking on more realistic aircraft for the time it was designed. Back then, the only jet it would have seen was the 262. When it was first built, the only real jet around was the ME-262. When it was first designed and it first flew. Later on, yeah, like Russian aircraft, things like that came along, Russian jets, but it wasn't in frontline service with most Western armies at that point to see it. So I think it's a little unfair with the position they put it in. But other than that, I think it's about right. I do like the fact this aircraft is in here. It is an unlockable aircraft. I had to do the quests to unlock it, which again, I'm absolutely fine with. I think that is fair. But it is a shame that it is so weak, and like I said, I love the fact that it's manoeuvrable. There are other planes out there in the level it is are much more manoeuvrable than it, which again I don't like so much. So I think that's the only thing I would do with it. I think is roll it back a level, to make it a level 6 rather than a level 7. I think that's the only thing they should do with it. But other than that, I think it is, for me, it's pretty much how the plane was supposed to be. Agile, light, fast, quick off the line. Yeah, it was a very, very nimble and very agile aircraft. There's videos online, if you haven't seen them, of one of these flying through the Welsh Hills. Not the one that smashed, but a later built one. When they were retesting it to see if it could fly after it had been rebuilt, they wanted to send it back to where they used to test it, and they flew through the Welsh Hills with it, and it sounds amazing, and it looks awesome, and it is so agile. So yeah, that's the only thing I think, is that it's too high a level for where it should be. But anyway, this is a quick overview of the de Haviland Vampire. Like I said, you can't really go digging too much into this one because there just isn't too much to it. It didn't get involved too much just because it came along at the wrong time. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little quick dive. Makes a change for it to be quick for me, doesn't it? But I'm going to leave that there. So again, thank you very much for your time. And for the minute, I've been Cappadocia. Signing off.